The Caitlin Clark effect takes over. Cunningham witnesses the WNBA's transformation from niche to global phenomenon. The league continues to grow exponentially. The WNBA has experienced remarkable growth in recent years, and since last year, with the arrival of Caitlin Clark, its rise has been nothing short of meteoric. Clark's arrival to the Indiana Fever in 2024 marked a total paradigm shift for the league. Women's basketball suddenly began receiving national and international attention, and conversations about the league, both in person and online, surged unexpectedly. Sophie Cunningham sees a rapidly growing league. In an interview with Clutch Points, Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham shared her perspective on how she views the league at this moment. "It's been really cool, to be honest. You know, I was here my rookie season and we sold out our home crowd, but everywhere else not so much. I've been lucky to kind of play in front of a lot of fans. I was teammates with Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner, and so many big names around our league." Sophie Cunningham. She said, "Now, you have Caitlin, who is a generational player, put in the W on the map around the world, and so just the level of investment and the people who are so interested, and not just women, it's young boys, men, girls, all like pretty much everyone. Everyone's invested in the W now, and so it's just been really fun to kind of see the growth and the way that people support us." Sophie Cunningham. Her comments reflect how Clark's impact has expanded far beyond attention on the Fever, helping transform the league into a global conversation point. The surge in investment, fan support, and overall visibility has shifted how players experience the WNBA, with packed arenas becoming more common and media coverage reaching unprecedented levels. Cunningham also spoke about taking time off. For Sophie, having free time to enjoy moments with family and friends, and to recover from injuries, like the one she suffered at the end of the season that kept her out of the postseason, is equally important, said Erica Taylor, Senior Brand Director for Sun Cruiser. The Fever guard has also used this time to serve as the face of various brands, generating additional income through sponsorships and collaborations. This period away from the court not only helps her recover physically but also provides opportunities to elevate her profile off the floor. For now, as the league remains in its off-season, players are taking advantage of this pause to handle sponsorship commitments, rest, and enjoy personal time before the next campaign begins. Sophie Cunningham liked to joke that she'd been in the league long enough to remember the days when a doubleheader crowd felt like a minor miracle. Nights when the arena staff knew every fan by name. Nights when WNBA storylines barely grazed national headlines unless something dramatic, historic, or controversial happened. But now she walked into arenas that thundered. And at the center of it all, like a spark that had found the perfect field of dry grass, was Caitlin Clark. The Caitlin Clark effect had started subtly, in the way most revolutions do. First it was record-setting college viewership, then sold-out WNBA preseason games, then the constantly refreshing stream of merchandise that never stayed in stock. By the time Clark's rookie season reached its midpoint, Cunningham felt like she was watching a sport reinvent itself in real time. She remembered the exact moment she realized the WNBA was no longer a niche league, it was a global phenomenon. It was a late August afternoon, one of those blistering Indiana days where the humidity clung to your skin like another layer of clothing. Cunningham stepped off the Fever bus and paused, blinking at the sight unfolding in front of her. Hundreds of fans, many wearing Clark jerseys, some waving signs that looked like they'd taken all night to design, were already waiting. And the doors weren't even open yet. A group of girls, maybe 9 or 10 years old, were pressed against the barricades, bouncing in place, shouting as if Taylor Swift had just stepped onto the sidewalk instead of a group of basketball players. "There she is. There's Sophie. And, is that Caitlin? Take a picture." Cunningham laughed then, a Real laugh, the kind she couldn't hold back even if she tried. She shot Clark a look. "This is absurd," Sophie said, slinging her backpack over her shoulder. Clark just shook her head, cheeks pink, trying and failing to hide a smile. "It's kinda cool though." That was one way to describe it. Another way? Era-defining. Inside the arena, attendance had become a nightly headline. Fever games weren't just basketball, they were cultural events. Ticket resale prices soared. ESPN ran Clark segments twice a day. International broadcasts requested packaged highlights before the fourth quarter even ended. And everywhere Cunningham went, Toronto, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Atlanta, young fans asked her about her teammate. But here was the secret Sophie would never say on live TV. She loved it. Because she remembered the days when players fought for visibility, when they tweeted their own highlights to get attention, when off-season careers in Europe weren't optional but necessary. Now she saw young players walking into a league where endorsements, national commercials, signature shoes, and massive fan bases weren't pipe dreams, they were expectations. During one road trip, Cunningham pulled Clark aside during warm-ups. The arena was buzzing, the lower bowl nearly filled 30 minutes before tip. It was unreal. "Take this in," Sophie said, tossing Clark a ball. "This isn't normal." Or, "It wasn't." Clark dribbled, thoughtful. "Do you think it's too fast?" "No," Sophie answered immediately. "It's overdue." Clark nodded, then waited. "But, does it feel weird? Like everything changed at once?" Sophie crossed her arms, staring up at the growing crowd. "Feels like we walked into the future early." And that's exactly what it was. The future, arriving ahead of schedule. By September, the numbers were staggering. Highest viewership in league history. Record jersey sales. Social media interactions exploding by the millions. Global brands signing partnerships specifically because the WNBA had become the place to be, not the place to overlook. But Sophie's favorite part wasn't the fame, or the packed arenas, or the historic metrics. It was quieter than that, more personal. It was the way little girls mimicked Clark's long-range logo shot in the tunnels. The way teenage boys debated fever highlights like they were NBA playoff clips. The way families, whole families, showed up hours early, wearing signs that said, "My daughter's hero plays here." One night after a particularly electric home game, Clark had dropped 33 and the building felt like it might lift off the ground. Cunningham lingered on the court long after the fans began to leave. She watched an entire row of young girls waving goodbye to Clark as if they'd just spent the evening at Disneyland. She saw parents snapping photos, couples wearing matching fever gear, and arena workers taking videos because they knew they'd want to remember this era too. Sophie exhaled slowly. This was history. Not the kind you read about decades later in textbooks, watered down to a paragraph, but the kind you feel in your chest when you know something is changing, something big, something lasting. The WNBA was no longer fighting for a seat at the table. It was building its own table and the whole world was pulling up chairs.